Everybody, we're live here at the Tough Gym. Just got done with the second day of filming of The Ultimate Fighter, Jon Jones versus Chael Sonnen. And how do they tweet? Wait, I need Twitter baby in here with me to tell you how to tweet. How do you do it?
Tweet hashtag Ask Dana.
Tweet hashtag Ask Dana.
Here, why don't you start with these?
All right, we got some questions here until the Twitter. Yeah, Angel Cordero. When is UFC coming back to Puerto Rico? We've been focused on Puerto Rico. We're working on it. We're doing a lot of work down there. We did some deals down there in the bars, and we want to do a pay-per-view down there. We know it's a big market for us. Probably within the next... Well, the first two are the same question from two different guys. David Hernandez asked the same question, so... I would have to say we will be there. We'll probably do an event there, 2014. From Steve Latang. Hi, Dana. I know that New Brunswick isn't too big, but wondering if the UFC or Tough will ever come to either Moncton or Halifax or St. Jean. I have no clue. I don't know the answer to that question. We'd have to ask Tom Wright. I'm not that, I know all the big cities in Canada. And I know Halifax, of course. But I've never heard of Moncton or St. Jean. Jeremy Moore, will the UFC re-sign Anderson Silva after his last fight in his contract? Jeremy, are you out of your mind? What are you smoking? Of course we're going to re-sign him. He's the greatest fighter of all time. Never lost in the UFC, broke every record in UFC history. We will re-sign Anderson Silva. And soon. Alex T. Will UFC try to get Fedor back for one more fight? We did. We tried to get Fedor, and Fedor has absolutely positively retired. He does not want to fight anymore. From Herb Fu. Yo, Dana, do you think that Jon Jones and Anderson Silva will ever face off in the octagon? I said it in Brazil, and I'll say it again. Hell yes, they will. I guarantee you that fight will absolutely happen. From Josh Liz. Can you help me get in the UFC? Probably not. Joseph Diaz. Is Brock Lesnar ever returning to the UFC? No, he's not. He called me a couple weeks ago and said he's done. He will never fight again. Michael Bohr. I want to see Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky in the UFC. Will that happen if he wins his fight November 2nd? I don't even know who he's fighting. He'd have to beat somebody pretty serious to get back in the UFC. Laos Paneras. I don't have a question, but I do have a message. I've noticed that not only me, but a lot of people are upset with the quality of fights that have gone down compared to before. We are not seeing two big contenders going at it anymore. For example, Silva versus Sonnen, Silva versus Bonner, Silva versus Jones versus Belfort. Yeah, we get your point. For the second time, the first fight was quick. Dude, do you not watch, read anything or know what's going on? Guys have been getting injured left and right for the last year and a half. We've been on a real bad streak with guys getting injured. There's nothing we can do about that. What would you like me to do? What we do is we save the fights and the fights go on. And the thing that I always say to everybody, and I will say it to you, my friend, if you don't like the fight, don't pay for it. I'm not out there trying to sell you saying, oh, please buy this fight. We put together these fights and you either want to watch it or you don't. When this bad luck string stops, which hopefully is going to be the rest of this year and next year, then you won't be chirping at me next year. Ross Reigns. Who's next for Anderson Silva aside from super fights in the distant future? The 85-pound division is very exciting right now. I don't know who's next for him. We're waiting because he possibly wants to fight George St. Pierre. We'll see what happens. Bobby Ravani. Dana, are you going to retire anytime soon? I just can't imagine the UFC rolling without you. Hopefully you'll stay until you're at least 60. I feel like I'm 60 already. And no, I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Lethal French Inhale. That's your name? Dana, when do you think we'll see Ronda in the octagon? I don't know, but as everybody does know, I'm more into the I'm into it now. So we'll see what happens. Edwin Rodriguez, can you really make John Jones versus Anderson Silva happen? It makes more sense than GSP versus Anderson. Now, when people say that, it's crazy because a lot of people believe that John Jones should be fighting at heavyweight. So to say that GSP Anderson Silva doesn't make sense, doesn't make sense. The cool thing about it is those are the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and the greatest fighter of all time and the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter falls right in the middle. So he can fight George St. Pierre and he can fight John Jones. They both make sense. So I'm sorry, you're wrong. Gabriel Augusto. Dana, are you really looking forward to make 12 UFC events next year in Brazil? Hell yes I am. I wish we could do Brazil every weekend. It's awesome down there. The crowd is fantastic. And there's a ton of talent. 2 from Gabriel Augusto. When are you guys going to release the names of the tough Brazil coaches? Tough 2. We did. It's Verdum and Big Nog are the coaches, season 2. Michael Zand, you said you could make Silva take the John Jones fight. Make Fedor versus Lesnar. Neither one of those guys want to fight anymore. Guys who are fighting and want to continue to fight, I can make fight. Guys who aren't, I cannot. Okay. When we see Mousasi in the UFC? I don't know. I don't know what his deal is with Strikeforce or how that works. I don't know. Should Anderson Silva's legacy, legacy be like that of Bruce Lee's and other fighting legends? Hell yeah, it should. I think so. I think he's one of the greatest martial artists ever. And the difference between a guy like Anderson Silva and some of these other guys that you throw around, and I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. Don't get me wrong here. No way, shape, or form am I dissing Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and all these other guys. I mean, Anderson Silva fights all the best in the world. I mean, this guy is the greatest martial artist ever. He's awesome. So my answer to that is yes. Why is there less house drama and tough like the first season? I love that stuff. Dude, apparently you're not watching this season. There's a ton of house drama this season. And we'll see what happens with the season we're filming now. Please tell me you plan on returning to Boston. Yes. We're definitely coming back to Boston, and I've actually been working on that lately. We'll definitely come to Boston next year in 13. You need to get on Joe Rogan's podcast. I know. We're going to do it someday. We'll figure it out. How's Chael's trash talking been? Chael has been interesting already on the first day of shooting here. Are you interested in Tyrone Spong? Yes, we've talked about Tyrone. We'll see what happens. Dan Henderson wanted Jones and would have taken that fight in April if he was number 1 contender for 151. Why not anymore? Not a money fight? Now, for you guys to say, oh, he's not fighting because it wasn't a money fight, it's a money fight. What are you talking about? The fight was set up. He got hurt, and he fell out of the fight. It's not a money fight. This stuff keeps rolling. We got to keep putting on fights. Dan Henderson's hurt. I called Dan Henderson yesterday, or day before, whenever the hell it was. I said, how's your knee? He says, still tight. I'm going to start training and see how it feels. He doesn't even know how his knee feels yet. He doesn't even know if his knee is 100% yet. And everybody's chirping about the Dan Henderson fight. Dan Henderson is not healthy yet. Have you considered running a UFC version of The Apprentice for your non-fighting staff? No, I've never even thought about it. How long until you can merge Strikeforce and the UFC together? We have a deal with Showtime for Strikeforce. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Any chance to see Ronda and Cyborg as coaches of The Ultimate Fighter? Anything is possible if they, end up coming into the UFC. Any chance of seeing John Jones versus Sagan?